Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and welcome, people, to episode 194 of Dude and a Monkey. We are closing in on that number 200. I am one of your co-hosts, Mark Foster, and as ever, I am joined by
Ian Loring. Hi.
And we're about to get all boiled up, aren't we?
That's very good.
With a triple helping of Danny Boyle films. Actually, his first three films, I believe, we're covering, aren't we? So we're going to cover Shallow Grave. We're also going to cover Trainspotting and leading into the recent release of T2 Trainspotting.
His first two films. His first two films, of course.
Okay,
cool. I thought there was one I was supposed to watch then. Fucking hell.
We're getting worried and thinking, shit, I haven't watched A Life Less Ordinary.
I spent Sunday morning watching the Sadako versus Kayako when I could have been watching a Danny Boyle film. Yeah. So I'll talk about that.
Cool. Right. So yes, so we're gonna chat that. We'll do probably a little bit of speed round what we've been watching. On that, and obviously we'll do. I have virtually no trailers because there's fucking now out about at the moment. But we'll do a little bit of Oscars chat, I would think. Before.
Fuck yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
We won't go. I'll say the reason why we won't go into the Oscars chat too much. We'll just do like a skim over it. And the reason why we're going to do that is we are planning on having Brad on at some point.
Yeah. He's been chomping at the bit to come on and talk Oscars actually, so we'll get that going.
So we'll go over it and mention it and discuss it a little bit, but we'll get more into kind of the meat of it a little bit more when we've got Brad on, because he's like our Oscars and our awards season correspondent that we like to bring in, and he's always a great chat with that. So there'll be an episode probably closer to the Oscars themselves once everything's kind of built up a little bit.
I would go. Yeah,
and we'll go from there. So Ian, is there anything that's happened this week that we need to mention?
No,
we lost John Hurt.
Yeah, man, that was. I mean, the thing is, I think he'd announced that he'd suffered from cancer a while back, so that doesn't quite feel like the damn you 2017. Yeah, it's a massive shame the guy's gone. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a he was taken too soon. Everyone's taken too soon, but it is one of those. The guy was 77 years old, and I read something in an interview. I think it was with his recent partner or one of his close friends or something like that, who said that the last time I spoke to him, he'd mentioned and said, I think I've done everything I want to do, and that leaves me very happy. And
you thought, do you know what? And I was saying, I had the pleasure of spending an evening in John Hurt's company when I met him in a pub once, and asked him if he was John Hurt, which I knew he was John Hurt, but he sat a couple of tables down from us, and he was John Hurt, and he turned round when I sort of said, I'm a huge fan. And he turned around and said, "Oh, thank you very much," and turned round, and we thought he was just turning around to sort of acknowledge the fact we'd spoken to him, but he wasn't. He was on his own, so he turned around and spent the rest of the next couple of hours just sort of chatting to us, which was incredible.
That's brilliant.
And it was just, it was essentially just sort of, he was just chatting about working with David Lynch and working with all these people and travelling and all these things, and just chatting just like a normal guy, and was thoroughly lovely. And when I said to him that I was a little bit drunk and said, I honestly, mate, I could listen to you read the phone book, and his response was, why would you give me something as boring as the phone book to read to you? Surely we can think of a better story than that.
That's a fair point.
And I was like, that is just the perfect answer. Surely we can think of a better story than that, my boy.
That's brilliant.
Yes. That was very sad. But when you look back at his career, that's a hell of a career to look back on. It's incredible. His work. He is like the British Harry Dean Stanton.
I like that. Yeah. No. I mean, it's that's about it. I mean, let's not talk about the world.
Let's not. No.
A quick gaming minute.
Yeah.
I've spent 4 hours 40 minutes over the last few days playing the single player of Titanfall 2, which is great. And if you like your games and if you like your first-person shooters with a bit more going on with the gameplay, Titanfall 2, wall running is the funnest thing. It's so fun. It's so fun. Jumping from one wall to another and having to make sure you're keeping the momentum and whatnot. It's a blast. And there's a level where you have a little wrist thing and you press it and you go back in time. You press it, you go back forwards in time again. And there's bits where you have enemies both in the past and in the present, and you have to maneuver around them by constantly switching between the past and the present and confusing them. It's amazing. It's so good.
That sounds way beyond what my brain can compute with computer games.
It's really fun though.
It sounds it.
Yeah, very, very short campaign, like literally 4 hours, 40 minutes. I beat the fucker, and I died a lot. But yeah, really fun. So there you go. That's Ian's gaming minute. Yeah, let's not talk about trailers. I don't think there's even been anything.
Not that I can think of. No. Every time I go to the cinema, I get more and more excited about the fact that there's a Logan trailer.
Yeah, man, that thing is
fucking so good.
Yeah, and that like literally that seems to be on every single film at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'm just colossally excited for that movie. What else? There was something else I saw. I can't remember what it was. I saw another trailer for something else. I can't remember what it was at the cinema and thought, ooh, I like the look of that. But then I obviously didn't like it that much because I can't remember what it was. So Oscar chat. Yeah, Best Picture. Arrival, Fences, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water, like you did predict there, Ian. Hidden Figures, La La Land, Lion, Manchester by the Sea, and Moonlight. Early favourite, obviously, is La La Land for that. And I hate the word snub. I despise the phrase snub. The minute when the Oscars were all announced, and you saw a litany of people going, "Oh, I can't believe Blau was snubbed." No, it just wasn't nominated. It's not snubbed. It's not snubbed.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised that Silence didn't really do much, but
I was, and I wasn't
slightly.
Also.
Yeah,
I think it deserved to be in the Best Picture noms. I think it deserved to be in the Best Director noms. But am I surprised it wasn't? Not really, no. It's a hard sell of a movie, even to the Academy. That's the thing. It's if you're backing that movie, you don't know. They literally have looked at that and gone, hang on a minute. If we back this, are we supporting whitewashing? Are we criticising the Catholics? Are we criticising the Buddhists? Christ, is there any Jewish people in it? Are we criticising them? Oh God, I don't know. Let's just not nominate it and hope nobody notices. And it literally, because they know Martin Scorsese isn't going to come out, or a lot of people aren't going to come out and go, well, why wasn't it nominated? People will just go, it's strange that it wasn't nominated. No one's going to be up in arms and go like that. But I do think it was because they thought, shit, who are we going to piss off if we nominate it? Well, we can't piss anybody off if we just don't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think the victory for Scorsese was getting it made anyway because it was such a passion project. So, whatever, it's fine. Scorsese's going to be okay, I think.
Yeah, he's going to be fine.
So, yeah, no, I mean, I was pleasantly surprised to see Arrival in there. I didn't quite think that was going to happen. I mean, it was interesting as well, people talking about Amy Adams being shut out. And I would say, and we'll probably get into this with Brad, but last year it was Oscars So White. This year you've got 3 women of colour nominated for Best Actress, is it? Or is it 2?
1. Best Supporting Actress, you've got 3.
Okay, sorry, yeah. So, hang on, who are the nominees for Best Actress?
Best Actress is Isabelle Huppert for Elle, Ruth Negga for Loving, Natalie Portman for Jackie, Emma Stone for La La Land, and Meryl Streep for Florence Foster Jenkins.
Yeah, okay, so I mean, I suppose I've got to watch Florence Foster Jenkins now, but yeah, even though Brad worked on it, so really I should anyway. But I mean, like, yeah, Meryl Streep, does she really need another nomination?
Well,
No.
that's why I'm curious about that, because let's be honest, in the past few years, Meryl Streep has got nominations for being Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
What I would like to know with what I'm curious about with Florence Foster Jenkins is whether or not that is a nomination because they've gone right. Oh, Meryl Streep was in that. All right, yeah, we'll nominate her for it because that's just it. And if that has kept out, for instance, Amy Adams for Arrival, then it is a little bit, or Nocturnal Animals. It is a little bit like, well, Meryl Streep doesn't. It's like they're just giving her more and more nominations just to try and get her, because I think this put her as the most nominated single person ever for Oscars.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I need to see it, but
Yeah,
my original point, though, I mean, I suppose it's just like, I mean, Ruth Negga for Loving, I think, was kind of a surprise because that film's not got any traction whatsoever, really. But it's like, would people rather have Ruth Negga in there or Amy Adams? Because it kind of feels like she might have been fifth place here, Ruth Negga, and I think overall people would probably rather have Ruth Negga in there. I mean, Amy Adams is very, very good in Arrival.
Yeah.
Is it Best Actress material? I'm slightly unsure of that.
Well, the thing is, Loving, isn't that Loving's only major nomination?
Yeah, it might have some craft stuff going on, but yeah, and
but then again, apparently Ruth Negga is fantastic in that.
Yeah. No, I mean, apparently she's the best thing about the film.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure we'll find out soon. I think it comes out over in a couple of weeks. So
and I'm looking forward to that. It's
yeah, Jeff Nichols, man, I'll watch anything he does.
That's mine. Same. Jeff Nichols is very much my jam.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's yeah, I don't know. I mean, Hidden Figures. I'm really looking forward to Hidden Figures.
I'm very much looking forward to Hidden Figures. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I suppose, yeah, like you say, we'll talk about it more with Brad. But I mean, the thing is that there are a few of those Best Picture ones that I haven't got to yet.
Yeah,
I've
got Lion, Hidden Figures on Moonlight.
Yeah, actually,
or Fences or Hacksaw Ridge, actually.
A
few we can watch.
I saw Hacksaw Ridge this week, but other than that, yeah, I'm the same. So, a lot of good catching up to do in February, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, good. I don't really know what else to say at the moment without going into it. Yeah.
I don't think there was not a single one, with the exception of Director, where I did think, ooh, it was a very well shot movie for Scorsese, but me and Dennis Villeneuve, I haven't seen Hacksaw Ridge, but La La Land, they're all, there's no one there where I go, well, that's a bit of a token fucking thing.
I've got to say, I'll talk about Hacksaw Ridge later, but I wouldn't give. I'd give Mel Gibson a nomination for the second half of the film. The first half of the film is Razzie worthy. So yeah,
you're not the first person that said that.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's one big one in the big six that made me go, when Ian actually told me it had been nominated, because I hadn't noticed that it had been nominated, and my response was, "Fuck off?" ?
Oh, The Lobster.
Yes.
Yeah, for original screenplay. Fuck. Yeah, that's hilarious. I love that.
Fucking retarded is that?
How does that? I mean, I liked The Lobster, but fair enough.
Yeah, fucking best original screenplay, The fucking Lobster. How did it even qualify? I thought it came out 2015.
I didn't get a theatrical in the US until 2016.
Fucking bullshit. I'm genuinely angry about that. If that wins, that's it. Fuck off.
There's no way The Lobster wins. Getting a nomination was a victory, mate. You don't have to worry about that.
La La Land or Hell or High Water is going to win that one.
Yeah, La La Land will. I will say now, La La Land gets the most Oscar wins since Slumdog.
I have a feeling though that could be one of the ones it doesn't quite get.
I think it's that or Hell or High Water.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think supporting actor is going to be interesting because Mahershala Ali is getting a lot of buzz, but I kind of see Jeff Bridges spoiling the party there because he's Jeff Bridges.
I think Michael Shannon might get it. because it's his time.
That would be hilarious.
But there's also the other bit of nobody knows what he'll do.
Yeah.
Has Dev Patel been nominated for 2 Academy Awards now? Did he get nominated for Slumdog?
No, he didn't.
Did he
First
not?
one.
Oh, right. Because I was about to just go, that fucking bravo on that kid. Because you never thought it from when he was in Skins that he would go on to be an Academy Award nominated actor. But he has, and whenever you see interviews with him, he comes across as a thoroughly nice guy.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man.
Yeah, we'll get into it more when we talk to Brad, but it's good. I always look forward to the Academy Awards. It's not, and it's like we've said every year, it's not the film that wins the best picture and the person that wins best actor. They're not, that's it, it's fucking carved in stone that is the best film of that year and that is the better performance of that year. If you don't agree, it doesn't matter. It really, really doesn't matter. The Oscars only actually really properly mean something to the fuckers who win them.
Well, yeah, no, quite. And I don't know. I mean, it's like it's in a world where it seems like cinema is struggling for pop culture importance. It's the one weekend of the year where the attention does shift to films.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's still valuable for that as well. Because I mean, it is, when you boil it down, it is essentially a trade awards.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So it just an incredibly glamorous one. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't think I'm going to be able to watch the bloody thing live because I've got to watch Lottie the day after. So I don't think I'm going to be able to do it.
I might do it solo then. I'll be watching.
Jesus Christ, good on you.
I'll watch it because I know I've already booked the day off, following day off, and I'm looking forward to it. I like watching it. I like getting angry.
I might try and negotiate with Donna, but I'll see how it goes. Maybe I could, she could go into work a bit later or something, and I could just sleep for 5 hours. Or
it's just it is late. It's a late one.
Yeah. And I had to cancel it last year as well. But yeah, anyway, we'll talk about it with Brad in the near future.
Yes. So the first film we're going to chat about in our Boil-a-thon, or let's get boiled up, is Trainspotting, the 1996 cultural fucking touchstone. I mean, this film was huge. I had the poster. I will admit to it freely. So it's going to be, again, it's always peculiar when we chat about these type of films from this kind of era, because with us been a few years apart, but they're quite significant years between sort of you live in, how old, 12 when this came out? 11?
Yeah.
12, yeah. Whereas I live in 14, 15 when it came out. So they are, the difference between 24 and 27 is nothing, but the difference between 12 and 15 is quite a bit sometimes. So it's going to be interesting, sort of looking back at it like that. So yeah, it was Danny Boyle's second film, based on the Irving Welsh novel Trainspotting. Starred Ewan McGregor, Ewan Bremer, Johnny Lee Miller, Kevin McKidd, Robert Carlyle, Kelly MacDonald. And if you need me to explain the fucking synopsis for the plot for Trainspotting, then fucking hell, seriously, why the fuck are you listening to this podcast? Because you should have all seen it by now. Ian, how long has it been since you last watched Trainspotting?
It's been a fucking while, I'll say that.
Did you buy it for $3.99 on the, what is it?
No, I actually bought the Blu-ray.
I own the Blu-ray, but I also bought it for $3.99 on iTunes.
Nice.
Yeah, because I'll tell you the reason why is because the Blu-rays are in my understairs cupboard, and there was something in front of it, and I thought, do you know what? I'd pay someone $3.99 to move that, so why wouldn't I pay $3.99 and get the fucking movie on iTunes?
It's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, I vividly remember when it first played on Channel 4. It was like a Wednesday night and played at 11 o'clock, and I think I must have been in year 9 or 10 maybe at school, and I just remember absolutely buzzing about it, and Kelly MacDonald had quite the impression on me at that age. I'll say that. But it wasn't a film for me then. It was a film about youth, but I was pretty much too young for that film about youth. So it was more like the kind of the shock value of it more than anything at that time. I mean, kind of like Reservoir Dogs in that respect as well. But God, I remember as well. Wasn't there a V8, like an edited version VHS that was a green backing,
yes.
not orange?
There was, yes.
Yeah, God, fucking hell, yeah. I mean, so anyway, sorry. But yeah, so it'd been a while. I mean, I definitely watched it after like seeing it in school, probably around uni or so. But I'd say it'd probably been about a decade. And it's not lost any of its power, really, has it? I mean, it's. I think it may be ever so slightly. Even I think this is appropriate for the film. But the last third, where they relocate to London, I think it does lose a bit of its va-va-voom. But I think that's the point. It is kind of the come down, really. But that first hour or so is pretty blistering, both in a kind of lustful life, kind of visceral sense, but also in its matter of fact harrowing shit. I mean, I will say the image of the dead baby I'd completely wiped from my mind, and that was intensely upsetting. I had to stop it for a bit, to be honest. So there's that. But as a second film, it's so visually confident, and right from the word go, that it's kind of staggering, really, I think. And I mean, the cast have all pretty much never been better, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. What's staggering, I think, is when and this links into something I'll say about T2 when we talk about that later on in the show. Going to Trainspotting, Ewan McGregor was a virtual unknown. He made Shallow Grave, and that was pretty much it. Ewan Bremner was a virtual unknown, as was Johnny Lee Miller. Robert Carlyle did a little bit of TV things and had done theatre, and Kelly MacDonald, I think this was the first ever film she was in.
Yeah, it starts introducing. Yeah.
And Trainspotting was such a big film that it kind of launched these people. But what is testament to that can happen a lot, where a film launches people and they become, they get offers and they become known beyond that because of that. But that filters away pretty quickly. Whereas 20 years down the line, Ewan McGregor is still, he's still a Hollywood actor. He still is a big star. Ewan Bremner still does a lot of theatre work and crops up in the odd movie. Robert Carlyle's gone on to have a very successful career. Johnny Lee Miller the same, not as much in film or in TV, but he was in, and I think it's still going. Is it Elementary? The
Sherlock thing.
Yeah, which I think is still running. Is one of those things that's just not my thing. It's passed me by, but apparently it's quite popular. So they've all gone on to, and Kelly MacDonald, has gone on to be quite big in TV in America and films as well. They've all gone on to have very successful careers, and it's amazing that and you can also see it with Shallow Grave, which we'll talk about later on in the show as well, that Boyle definitely has an eye for actors. Whenever he makes a film that is almost like an ensemble piece, which Trainspotting is a little bit, it's always strange how well he picks every actor. There's very rarely, I think, a bad performance in a Danny Boyle movie. Now, isn't that just because Danny Boyle's very good at directing actors? Yeah, could be. Absolutely could be. But also, as well, there's the other point of, is he just very good at spotting talent in terms of, well, they're a good actor and they're a good fit for that. But it's what's really strange is it's a movie that's set in the 90s, and it's very much about 90s life, and it's very much about a it's a really sort of strange way to look at it. We were still living in the 90s under in 1996 under a conservative government. You hadn't had the Blair years, and people will, if you're listening and I mention Blair years, and people their teeth start itching. There was an era of early 90s, late 90s, early 90s of prosperity in this country, and where youth culture was kind of embraced and things like that. Whereas at this point, it wasn't.
Even though it's interesting that the London section, like the montage that introduces it, totally feels like you could put New Labour over that.
It does, and I think part of that was being driven by the fact that Danny Boyle, was foreseeing the fact that that Thatcherism was dying out at that time, and it was that the younger people had kind of taken London, and it started to become a cultural melting pot again, and there was more of a care to this, and people were doing things. The problem is that the people that grew up in this movie that are now in T2 and like that, they're the people who have forgotten what it was like 20 years ago and are doing the grabbing everything for the fucking selves thing. But also as well, it was, you always got the feeling with Renton that he'd almost become a heroin addict as something to do.
Yeah.
And Sick Boy, his character there, it's even referenced in the film, he can quit whenever he wants. He just likes that hedonistic lifestyle. He likes being that person. Whereas it's more something to do, but he always sees himself as being a little bit above everything that's going on of all these people. That he can walk away from it and lead a very productive life, but he knows in his heart of heart that Begbie is a psychopath and he can't. He's going to end up in prison. The rest of the gang as themselves, that's it. That's their lot in life. He's just Renton's just waiting for the chance for something better to come along, and that's where the whole movie kind of goes. It becomes his time to go. Do you know what? I'm kind of done with this, and he sees the opportunity and he fucking takes it.
I mean, that's the fascinating thing about Trainspotting, isn't it? That you've got this guy who's not an anti-hero because he's not necessarily a bad person, but amazingly, you like the guy, but he fucks over his friends. He's a heroin addict, and he disappears. And as you kind of see in T2, he doesn't come back for 20 years. I mean, and yet that shit-eating grin at the end is like fascinating, because it's, how do you read that? Is it a happy ending, or is it just that this guy's a prick and he's gotten away with it?
Yeah, it's a little bit like, right, is he going to go and spend that 12 grand that he's got? I love the fact that it's just £12,000. £12,000 nowadays, you read that and you think, that's fucking nothing. That's fucking nothing. 12 grand. 12 grand in late 90s or mid 90s Britain was a lot of money. You could, to give an example, around this time, a little bit later, but around this time, my sister bought her first house and it was £52,000, right? That house recently, a couple of years ago, sold for £185,000. So that should give people who maybe don't understand British financing, things like that, an idea of, that was in 1999 she bought that house, so a few years after Trainspotting, but it was around about the same kind of market. So that can give you an idea of how £12,000 can be viewed in that sort of spanning of time, and also how £12,000 could be viewed to these people. Because £12,000 would not far off get you a flat in Scotland in that time. And it sounds insane, but it's true. And it's is he going to go off and is he going to just spend it on more smack? Or is that it? Is that his way out? Was that his, this is my way out of this life? Is he going to go off and get married and have kids and lead a productive smackless life?
Yeah, no, it's I don't know. It's a film that leaves so much open-ended, and yet you do feel satisfied.
Absolutely, yeah. I think like Jordan said on the WhatsApp, there is not an ounce of fat on this movie. And I completely forgot that it's only like just over 90 minutes long.
Yeah, I mean, I stuck it on last Sunday night, not Sunday, just gone the week beforehand, and like I stuck it on at like 10:30. It was like, I'll watch about half of this and then watch the rest tomorrow. I ended up watching the whole thing because, it goes and it's off. And like I say, the come downy bit is only the last 20, 25 minutes or so. And then by then you're kind of in. Very, very, it's very pacey. You see, that's the thing. I'm over a week removed, so I am somewhat struggling here, to be honest with you. But it's, I don't know. Knowing that it's a cultural milestone. I think maybe. I wonder if it wasn't for that, would people still talk about the strength of the film itself? And I think they would, but I do think that this film being so seminal does
elevate it ever so slightly.
Does elevate it, yeah.
It does, absolutely, and I can see what you're saying there. What I was surprised at going back to, because it's been a long time since I watched it, probably a decade or so, if not longer. What I was so surprised at is how fucking good it looks. I expected it to look a little bit amateurish, to be honest. Not amateurish, that's too harsh, but not look fantastic. Look like a guy's second film. And it does. It looks great. The acting's great. The set piece is fantastic. Boyle directs the shit out of it. There's some really interesting stuff going on in there. But it as well. I think, like you say, with Trainspotting, there's the cultural element to it, but there's also it came along. You've got to as well piece together. It was riding the crest of a wave of the new American directors, so people like Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez and things like that. And it was riding that wave, and it was a little bit like Britain and Scotland, especially, saying, "Look, fuck it, here's our kind of say on this." You've got films like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction and a lot of the other movies that I'm going to forget to mention here. But there was a lot going on there. Well, we've got this. Here's Trainspotting. Here's a fucking snapshot of dire British life. There you fucking go. And going back and looking at it, it's a really, really good film. And as well, it opened the doorway to a couple of years later getting Lock, Stock and this new kind of little explosion of British films, and it pointed the microscope back on British films and said, "Hey, look, fuck you, we're making these. Look, fucking Ken Loach, he's still making movies. Here you fucking go. I have Secrets and Lies. It's brilliant." And there was a lot of that, and it put weirdly Trainspotting helped put British films back on the fucking map by saying, "Look, we're not just costume dramas. Look at what we can do." And I don't think we give Boyle the fucking credit he deserves. And I'll talk about that more with Trainspotting too. I don't think we give him the credit he deserves for being quite as fucking good as he is.
No, I mean, I think, like, kind of historically, I think it's probably because between Trainspotting and Slumdog, he kind of worked in genre.
Yeah, and it didn't quite work for him as well. The Life of Sorcery didn't quite work, to be honest. It didn't achieve what they expected to achieve, and they did a couple of TV movies as well, where I think that was when he first started working with Anthony Don Mantle, I think, wasn't it?
And I mean, like, the Beach was like pretty much traumatic for him. I mean, Millions is an interesting one. I mean, obviously you got 28 Days Later there as well.
Yeah.
Fuck me, man. I mean, just breaking it down, though, I mean, what a fucking filmography. There is some stunning stuff.
That's
there.
what I mean by the fact that and I know you do, because you're a very big fan, but it might just be something that I do. But I think definitely. I look back at his filmography the other day and went, hang on a minute, that's a fucking that filmography is fantastic. There's not in my view, there's not a bad film in there at all, and there's a few really, really fucking great movies in there. But there's not one where you go, bit of a misstep there. I like Lifeless Ordinary. I think it's got a lot going on. I
think The Beach.
I haven't watched it in a long time, but I have fond memories of watching The Beach. I remember enjoying it the last time I watched it. Granted, that was probably over a decade ago.
I mean, I really, really wish it was Ewan McGregor in The Beach. I really wish it was Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
I mean, it was DiCaprio in his huge pretty boy phase, and I understand why Boyle got DiCaprio in there, and like by his own admission, didn't treat McGregor very well with it. But it's I don't know. It kind of it took something of interest away. If you had Ewan McGregor there, it instead of American Pretty Boy, I wonder how much better that film would have been. I watched The Beach a couple years back, and I think it's decent, but it doesn't hold up the best, I would say.
Right. I'll look forward to giving it. I'm going to give it a rewatch next couple of weeks.
Yeah, nice. But I mean, fuck, man. I mean, 28 Days Later, Sunshine, obviously. Steve Jobs, that's a fucking fantastic film. It's. I don't know. What is the through line between all these films? There kind of isn't one.
No.
It's, some of them are lo-fi as fuck. Like 28 Days Later, the Blu-ray of that looks like shit.
Yeah.
But it's because it was filmed on consumer grade stuff, and it looks like shit.
Yeah.
And the Blu-ray very accurately represents that. But then you've got Steve Jobs, where it's shot in 3 different stocks.
I watched
like 2 different stocks in digital.
Yeah, I watched the. And what I'll do is I'll use this as a segue into Shallow Grave. But yeah, we did a poll for Trainspotting. I'm guessing we're both definitely not shit on it.
Oh,
have you said everything you want to say on Trainspotting?
No, I'm good. Cool. I'm good, man.
Well, we put that out for a vote. 21 votes. Definitely not shit. 90%.
Sweet. What the fuck? Who's the other 10%?
Touching cloth 5% and shit 5%.
Who the fuck says Trainspotting? I mean, fair play.
Hey, I don't know, but I can see how some people just might not get on with its crassness, we'll say.
I'd love to know what an 18-year-old thinks of Trainspotting. I'd be fascinated.
Now?
Yeah.
Well, do you know what? I'll be able to tell you because 3 of the 18-year-olds that I work with haven't seen it, and they're going to watch it apparently.
Oh, nice. All right, cool.
Yeah. So we'll see. So yeah,
it's not that you work with them; they work under you. Just be clear there. They work under you.
They work under me, very fucking far under me, fuckers. And one of them listens to this, so hi Alex.
Nice.
So segueing in nicely about you talking about the grading stuff on there. I watched the Criterion of Shallow Grave, and it looked fucking lovely. And
nice.
And I thought it was going to look like shit.
Yeah.
That was my worry about that movie. Was I had very fond memories of Shallow Grave. I actually saw Shallow Grave before Trainspotting as well, and back in the VHS days. But I thought, oh god, how horrible and dated and horrible is this film going to look? And I watched the Criterion Blue, and it looks fantastic. It looks really, really fucking good. It looks like a movie that was made 2 years ago.
It was a treadmill film for me.
Well, that was it, yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I watched it on my phone the way it was meant to be seen.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? The thing is, you'd already seen it beforehand. You're rewatching it. You can rewatch something on a fucking treadmill. And you can watch for the first time a 90-minute fucking comedy on a fucking treadmill. That's fine. You won't want to watch, for instance, Shallow Grave for the first time on a fucking treadmill. Please don't want your first time watching it.
Oh God, no! Come on now.
Fucking hell.
No, God, no. No, I mean it's Yeah, I found it quite an engaging treadmill film as well. It's first off, gotta say, fascinating that Kerry Fox is first build in it.
I know.
Like that's a hell of a thing. Also, I hate the score.
I like the score.
Oh, fuck off.
I like the score. The little dee 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 dee. That, yeah, I like it.
Nah. But big fan of the. I love the structure of the film. I like that. Starts off, they are smug bellends.
Yeah, they're dickheads.
And Ewan McGregor is the alpha, and how that changes through the course of the film. Even through the little things like, oh fuck, what's the guy they interview's name for the house?
Is it? I want to say Declan or Cameron.
Cameron, that was it.
Yeah,
I love how he comes back into it, and like that, the whole payoff for that, and that's such a key moment in the kind of the de-machoification of Ewan McGregor's character, just as Eccleston's is kind of coming up. But I love the way the film wrong foots you, where you think it's going to be, the end is going to be Peter Mullen and other guy confronting them.
Yeah.
And then it's like, halfway in or an hour in, it's just like Christopher Eccleston just fucking takes him out.
And it happens so fucking quickly and so done. Very quickly, for people who might not have seen it, I don't know why you won't.
Yeah, fair enough.
Shallow Grave, 1994 film, directorial debut of Danny Boyle. He's done a little bit of TV stuff. This was his first film. Stars Kerry Fox, Christopher Eccleston, and Ewan McGregor. It is about three young professionals who have a flat in. It's in Edinburgh, isn't it? Yeah.
I thought it was Edinburgh. Yeah.
In Edinburgh. Ewan McGregor plays a journalist. Kerry Fox plays a young doctor, and Christopher Eccleston is a chartered accountant. So they're all young professionals, more money than the average Edinburghian. Yeah,
I know what you mean.
So they're looking for somebody else to share the flat 'cause there's an extra room there, but they're being, like you say, dicks about it. They're interviewing people and asking them stupid questions, etc. So that very much feeds into the idea. I'm going to spoil it because it's a fucking 23-year-old movie. That's insane. I don't know when it is. They do find somebody called Hugo, played by Keith Allen, to take the room, but on his first night he seemingly overdoses or commits suicide. It's never fully mentioned. But they find a suitcase full of money, a undisclosed amount of money, but it's a lot of money, and decide that they're going to keep it and get rid of the body. And then Christopher Eccleston starts to go a little bit mad, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I mean, I like the way that they build that up, because it's almost a combination of him kind of like releasing his inner man, but also trauma. There's I don't know, there's like a good dichotomy going there. The way that he is forced into like disposing of the bodies, and that's basically what sets him off. Yeah. But then he gets more physical as the film goes on, and like the start of the film, he kind of has a thing for Kerry Fox's character, but he's very mousy about it, and then by the end he's kind of all over her, and it's the kind of the power play there I think is really interesting. And even though, I mean, like, I wonder if the film would play out as today as it did back then, because it's kind of like the woman has the power in the relationships, like playing the two guys off against each other, and then at the end actually one of the guys wins, kind of, even though they kind of all lose.
I think it's
like, who has the last laugh? Ewan McGregor's character.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But I think it's I think you could still do that now. It's not he doesn't necessarily get one over on because he's a guy. It's just he was already, when the film starts out, he's the biggest bastard. At the start of the movie, it's made clear he's the biggest arsehole. The first fucking sort of, it's made clear they're all a little bit dicks, but he's the biggest arsehole.
Yeah.
And of course, why wouldn't he win? In the same way as it's a different thing where in Trainspotting he wins because he's maybe not the biggest arsehole or the biggest fuck up out of them, whereas in this he is. And there's a line, an almost throwaway line, where Kerry Fox's character turns around to Ewan McGregor and says, when he says, I'm not going up there, he said, well, you've got something that, over him. And he says, well, what? And she says, well, you're smarter than he is. And his response is, well, yeah, I always thought that. And
yeah,
it's almost like she thinks that she's playing to his ego.
Yeah.
But it's also exploring the fact that he says that, and when he responds, he isn't doing it in an ego, taking the piss kind of way. He is going, actually, yes, I am, you're right.
Yeah.
It is like that, and it turns out he's not just smarter than him. He's smarter than all of you. He's got the one up on everybody, and it kind of it makes sense that he would have that much bravado, because to be that young, that successful in that kind of industry, you've got to be very smart.
Mm.
And it's fair enough that you can have that bravado and that arrogance and that ego when you're that smart. You're allowed to. It's something that sometimes just goes with the, what is it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, some of the story beats don't quite ring true for me. I mean, I think Ewan McGregor just so happens to be assigned the case, the story of the bodies being found.
Well, I think that is a little bit of the police have ensured that he gets signed to it.
I don't know. I think it's just coincidental. I mean, yeah, that one copper does get immediately oh, that's his reaction's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do like the way that the police are immediately suspicious. And they are actually quite shit at covering this stuff up. And you do. Obviously, by the end, she's flying off to Rio de Janeiro because she knows they're fucked.
Yeah.
I like the honesty there. They're not master criminals, and I mean the idea about the burying the bodies would have been all right if they just dug them deeper.
Yeah. It's literally that. And there's the idea of did Ewan McGregor have it? Did Alex have it planned all along to play out in some way where he was always gonna put those two over?
Well, yeah, I mean that's the question, isn't it? How long had the stuff been in the floorboards for? I mean, obviously he has that dream where he's in the floorboards.
Yeah.
But was that the time that he actually did that? I mean, it's yeah, I don't know. There's an interesting idea there. It'd be interesting watching it again, kind of remembering the story more than I did from the last time I watched it, and looking out for those kinds of hints. But I mean, it's just, again, it's a genre piece, which Boyle comes to again and again. But it's got good, really talented young performers, but B, it's got that kind of the visceral storytelling as well. I mean, the opening sequence with the music by Orbital, I mean, that stuff kind of could have been in Trainspotting in sections, like the fast moving things. But I mean, it's not a chamber piece, but an awful lot of it does take place in that house, which is a good location as well. But it is really just a tight little thriller.
Yeah, it is. It's a great little crime thriller. Like you say, it's a total little bottle piece. All three performances, I think, are very strong in it. I like the fact that it's quite airy and quite open. It's not trying to make you feel claustrophobic, which, given the sense of like you say, it's all based in one location. they're not trying to make it feel like it's closed in on you. They're giving you a lot of space to breathe in it, which is really good. Ewan McGregor's fantastic in it. You can see why he's gone on to be as big a star as he has. Strange that Kerry Fox hasn't done that much since, because I think she's very good in this. And of course, Christopher Eccleston's very much forged his own path, we'll say, with him. But yeah, I think I thoroughly enjoyed my rewatch of it, to be honest. I think it's a cracking little movie.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely not shit.
Definitely not shit. And we had a 16 votes. Definitely not shit. 94%.
Sweet. Bloody hell, more than Trainspotting.
Yep, touching cloth 6%, and shit 0%.
Yeah, better grade than Trainspotting. Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
Fair enough.
So, on to the main event, as they say. Trainspotting, or T2 Trainspotting, set 20 years after, directed again by Danny Boyle, written again by John Hodge, starring again Ewan McGregor, Ewan Bremer, Johnny Lee Miller, Robert Carlyle, and there's other people crop up. So other main characters, I would say, are Veronica. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the real actress's name. And a few other faces. Kelly MacDonald creeps up, Shelley Henderson creeps up, and Irving Welsh is back as well in a little cameo from that. So the whole gang is back together. 20 years later, when Mark Renton returns home to Edinburgh, he's been living in Amsterdam. Remember, we are all spoilers all the time, guys. So this is a new film, so we'll put that one out there. Returns from Amsterdam after collapsing on a treadmill, and he's had to have a stent fitted in his heart, and he's going through a little bit of a later midlife crisis. He finds that Ewan Bremner is still a drug addict. That sick boy, or Simon, as he's called in this, which we'll get to in a second, is still a criminal, but he's not great at it, and he's also running his auntie's dilapidated pub, and Begbie is in prison, soon to be breaking out of prison there as well. T2 Trainspotting, before we get into it, I like the fact that they drop the nicknames and people are called by their real names. I think is a really nice touch, and it makes a lot of sense in a storytelling way. In that, Ian, what did you think of T2 Trainspotting?
I enjoyed it. It's messy as sin. It's really, really messy, I think. Plot points seem to pop up and disappear kind of throughout. The film, never really, from a story point of view, never really seems to know what it actually wants to be. But I enjoyed it immensely. It's funny, sad. I think the final shot is fucking chilling. Like that, I was kind of blown away by that final shot. And yeah, I was engaged throughout. But it did. I thought it did strike a couple of bum notes along the way. Your thoughts?
I went into it and I was not looking forward to it, to be honest, in a way, because I couldn't see a reason why we need to go back to visit these characters. Not saying that I didn't want to go back to visit these characters, but I couldn't see a reason why now was the right time, other than the fact that it was 20 years, which feels a little bit like nostalgia for nostalgia's sake.
Sure.
In the time that we are in, where nostalgia is quite popular. Becky was really looking forward to it, so we went in, and it started, and I thought, hang on a minute, am I doing this a little bit of a disservice in the back of my mind? This is Danny Boyle. Danny Boyle knows his shit. Danny Boyle doesn't need to do Trainspotting 2 to get his career back on track. His career's fine. And he's not the sort of person who would do something just to get their career back on track. No, the actors really need to get their careers back on track. They're all doing fine. This might give them a kickstart, but they're all doing fine. Maybe they're only back for it for the right reasons. And so that was during the opening scene, where it's going like that, was when I started to be all right with the idea of train spotting, of T2 train spotting.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. I think I think it's probably. I need to do a rewatch, but there's a strong possibility it could be my favourite Danny Boyle film.
Wow, them's fighting words. Good on you.
I was absolutely blown away by it at points, by how much fun it was at points, how much care it treated the characters with, how it gave all of them their individual little bits without it feeling too much like it was going, right, now here's Spud's time to shine, and things like that, and how it explained their lives. There's a lot going on in terms of what Anthony Don Mantle and Danny Boyle are doing visually with it, which was really fucking cool. I didn't feel like they were just doing it for the sake of it. It captured a spirit of, where are these people now? Oh, well, yeah, Spud still is a drug addict, and this is what's happened. But he's still a drug addict. You know, Johnny Lee Miller hasn't gone on to be a fucking crime superstar. He's just still a small time fucking crook. And he's not a smackhead anymore, but he's a cocaine addict. And you know, it didn't pan out for him. He went and he tried to pursue. He did choose life. He chose the fucking car. He chose all those fucking things on the fucking poster, and it didn't work out. You know, and there's a point where he turns around and says, "I'm 46 years old and I've got to fucking start again." And it is a little bit like that. There is the, you know, Spud didn't fucking choose life. He chose to continue being a drug addict. Johnny Lee Miller didn't fucking choose life. Baby didn't choose life. Yet they all fucking converged 20 years later in pretty much the same fucking places. And then there's the fantastic delivery where they bring the choose life bit into the movie in one scene, and you were going to just start saying it's choose this and choose this and choose this and choose this, and then it goes into an actual full fucking tirade of that, and it got me. It got me as an emotional, you know, point of, you know, we chose all this and you're going to choose all this, and you know what? You're still going to end up in the same fucking place as you fucking would have done if you chose something fucking else, because everything's still going to be fucked, because everything's always fucked. And it is that staring down the barrel of, what is the fucking point? And yeah, that's not what it's like for everybody, but it's what it's like for this guy and this group of guys. And there's almost these forgotten generations of people that were expected, oh, they'll be fucking fine, but they're not fucking fine. And it's that, and it made me look at it and say, holy shit, you look at what the fuck has gone on the past fucking couple of weeks in the fucking world, and it's shit. Is this what I'm fucking leaving either for Isabel to what? For her to live in, or for her to fucking clean up? And it struck a bit of a chord with me. And yeah, there's a lot going on there that doesn't make sense. But I was, one thing I was really worried about with it was that I referenced earlier when we were talking about train spotting, is Ewan could be Renton back at those points, and Ewan Bremer could be Spud, and they could be these people because we didn't know them that well. Now we know them very, very fucking well. So when you're watching it back, when you're watching this now, would it be, I'm not watching Mark Renton, I'm watching Ewan McGregor? And it wasn't. They all fell back into these characters so effortlessly that I think that helped it go along. And I was quite taken with it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's very passionate, man. Good on you. I mean, I think it's a really interesting study of men seeing their mediocrity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how they process it. So Ewan McGregor goes back to all his own old haunts. Spud, who kind of has the biggest realization in the whole film, really, where he's like, I am who I am. I have now found an outlet for like Veronica's kind of like, and to a lesser extent, Mark has inspired a flame in him to do his writing.
Yeah, and then you've got even Begbie starts taking the piss out of him, but then the ultimate sort of validation for it is when even Begbie gets fucking moved by it all.
Yeah,
you know, Begbie he's sat down taking the piss out of him and saying, "Go on, fucking read it." Then he gets into it, and he's like, "You've got something. There's something you fucking got."
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, no, yeah, fucking right. It's weird. So I mean, you've got that, and you've got Begbie, who, I mean, that scene towards the end where he shakes his son's hand, and it's just like you be you, and it's not saying I don't want you to be me. It's just you be you do what you want to do. It's okay. I like that. So he's not even acknowledging that he's a bad person. He's just like, I'm going to be going away for a long time. It is what it is. You don't want to be me. That's fine. And which I think is fascinating. And then you got Simon, who is just in his rut.
Yeah.
But then by the end of the film, Mark is back kind of in his rut as such. But it's almost like he's accepted that this is just going to be what it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said earlier, the last shot where he starts the kind of dancing, and it's kind of like cutting between him doing that and like falling over from the heroin in the first one. It's like, where the fuck is he going to be in 20 years?
Well, that's it. It's the amazing thing is, I got that and thought, I'd be happy in 10 years' time if we got another fucking one of these movies where the shot was just Begbie still in fucking prison, because you know that Mark and Simon are gonna end up just doing stuff together. They're gonna end up running scams together, and it almost seems like Ewan Bremner is gonna be on some kind of weird book tour, talking to people in fucking university and things like that about his life, or they might be fucking making his memoirs, which are Trainspotting. So it's almost looking back at Trainspotting and saying, hey, Trainspotting was made 20 years ago. Yeah, well, weirdly, in a weird kind of fucking universe, that Trainspotting is based on a book that was written by one of the characters from Trainspotting 20 fucking years later. And that's that. And then his follow-up novel to that is T2, which is this fucking, what is it? And it's just this super meta fucking thing that just kind of blows your mind of going, that's brilliant. It's brave making the movie to start off with. It's brave making the movie a fucking 18, because they don't make enough 18s nowadays. It's brave making it an 18. It's brave having very little fucking story other than they get back together and try and open a brothel.
Yeah, I mean, my issues with the film, I suppose, is that kind of thing there, because you got a film that is like getting on for 2 hours long. Not an awful lot actually happens. Now, I enjoyed spending my time with the characters. Do not get me wrong, I really did, but it kind of feels like there's a little bit of box ticking in there. Have to have a bit where they do skag.
Yeah.
And that, I just, what actually was the point of that? They do the skag, and then they're in the club, and then Begbie's in there, and it kind of goes on from there. It kind of feels like you didn't actually need that. It kind of feels like it's a Trainspotting sequel, so we need a bit where they do heroin.
Yeah.
All right, fine. We need a bit where they go up that hill. Okay, fine. And I understand, it's the reference to Tommy and whatnot, and that's fine. And that conversation that they have about how they were both responsible for it is great.
That that's very, I thought that scene was done very, very well. Him chewing him out about it and him going, I accept that, but are you going to accept your fucking, what is it? That made me in the cinema go, oh, he's gonna go there.
Agreed. Yeah, I really, really liked the use of the repeated imagery from the first one as well. The way it kind of acknowledges to the audience, like, we know how big the first one was, but also in terms of the fact that, like, the events in the characters' lives so shaped where they went for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. It's just I can't quite put my finger on it, but there just wasn't something that made it click for me in the way that it clicked for you.
Like I said, I think it's definitely going to be one of those films. I think it'll either. I think you can still get a lot out of it, but I think for some reason it grabbed me in a way where I really wasn't expecting it to grab me. I thought I was going in to sit down for 2 hours of nostalgia porn, which I was kind of alright with by that point. And then when there was an actual fucking movie there, and it was as biting as it was at points, and as not just playing for laughs as it was, I thought it was there was a lot going on. You know, the story of Spud, where he comes out and says, you know, when I left prison, you know, I realised I was great at forgery, you know, and it was great, I was wonderful because I could do this and this and this and this, and it's like, what happened? And he just goes, chip and pin.
Yeah, that is
like,
brilliant.
Do you know what? Yeah, kind of makes sense. He's not smart enough to be a cyber criminal.
Yeah.
He's not smart enough. And the thing is, that's happening just after you've got Mark and Simon have got into that club and have stolen all the bank cards because they have a theory that the majority of the PIN numbers are going to be 1690.
I loved that. I didn't have a fucking clue where they were going with that, and it kind of feels so obvious now.
Yeah, I had no idea and thought, this is brilliant. And what's fantastic, the best bit about that scene is, midnight, go again.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
I mean, it's really interesting because it's in a way it's watching this guy who, as you said with the first one, feels like he's kind of above everyone, and he kind of does, you know, like he's like going, like running up that hill with Spud and whatnot, and like choose something else to be addicted to, and then by the way that he kind of slopes back down at the end. I mean, it's not quite the downward spiral that, like, say, the kind of the opposite of Train Spotting would be, but it's settling into. It's like accepting his mediocrity and accepting that, you know, choosing.
I can either be not great. I can either be one of the not great people doing what I was doing before, where my marriage has fucking failed, I'm in a foreign fucking country, and I'm about to get fucking made redundant, or I can be king of the fuck ups.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't fucking Simon's idea to do the card thing. That was his idea, and it's that I can either be very fucking good at this, at scamming and skimming. I can be good at that and be brilliant at that. And you know what? I tried choosing life and it didn't fucking work. So I'm gonna go back to choosing fucking about because I'm having fun.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. And I just have to say, incidentally, the bit where after that the card scam, they're in the house and jabbering away at Veronica, like. Yeah. Simon describing the John Barry bit of Bond music as a filthy piece of music.
Yeah.
Early moment of the cinematic year for me, that. Yeah. I howled with laughter when that popped up on the screen because I've always thought that about that piece of music, that dun, 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 like, it is fucking, that is just, it is filth. Yeah. It's like, he's fucking, James Bond is gonna fuck up some people and fuck some women, and it's going to be amazing. And I love the way that links in with the first one, and just his kind of obsession with Bond. It's that's great. I mean, it feels like it feels like a sequel that was worth having, and I think that that's the victory of it. Do I think it's as good? This is the thing with the first one. I was talking earlier on about how the first one's a cultural milestone, and if you take that away, how good is the film? And then, do I think this is as good as the first one? And I'd have to say I don't think so, because it's not as tightly paced, even though it's got the bloat of middle age, you could say. So it may be, maybe that's in there, but I ever so slightly get the feeling that it was, right, we've got all these guys available for 6 weeks, we kind of need to do this now. Does it matter if we don't get one more draft done?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of there could definitely be a little bit of that. Also, I think there's a part of it where it's a little bit like there could be a 2.5 hour version of this movie where there's more to it.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. So I was going to say that they actually shot it like in 2015, but they spent over a year editing it. And I wonder if Sony by the way, it's so weird seeing a TriStar logo at the front of this. I wonder if Sony were a little bit like, we want it under 2 hours.
Yeah.
And they struggled.
I would, if it came out as a 2.5 hour version of this that got a little bit more into other bits of it.
I'd
watch it.
Because like the whole Veronica betrayal thing, slightly, I was like, oh, okay, really? Right, oh, fine. There wasn't quite enough. And I don't think it's because I was being slow or something. I kind of feel like there wasn't. Maybe there was like. Maybe there was a scene or two where it gave some motivation that, she actually had a life back in Bulgaria, I think it was, because when you see her and I'm assuming a kid at the end, it's like, well, that kind of came from nowhere.
Yeah, it is literally just, I think it's just she took inspiration from both Mark's life and Spud's stories of, I see an opportunity. I'm going to take it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's really so interesting that the kind of the betrayal out of the group is Spud, but it's not even like a malicious one. It's just, and I love the whole kind of like
you're going to fuck it up. That money, you're going to fuck that money up. Essentially, he's doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like, and don't give the money to me. I'm a skaghead.
Yeah. I'll give your half. I'll just blow it. Don't.
Yeah, which is great because I mean, the bit early on where like he just says, I'm a heroin addict. What do you think I did with the $4,000? And it's like, well, duh, of course. Because at the end of Trainspotting, you're thinking, right, well, Spud, good on Spud. He's got that $4,000, brilliant. And then it's like, well, what is the realization? Yeah, he just spent it all on smack.
Yeah, well, the fact that at that point, Mark kind of goes, oh yeah, good point, really.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like the audience going, oh shit, yeah, good point. It's actually, I'm talking to myself into liking it more, and I already liked it. You know what I mean? It's just, there's
so much. I think there's so much emotional weight, and there's a lot of people getting a lot of things off their chest. It would seem in this movie, which is I'm fine with. I'm fine with a combination of Danny Boyle, John Hodge, and Ivan Welsh, and even the actors to an extent, getting a lot off their fucking chest and essentially shouting at people. It feels like a movie that's shouting at the audience a little bit.
Sure.
It almost a fucking touching a fucking Haneke way of Boyle. It's such a smart movie that's almost masquerading as not being a smart movie.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because I mean I saw it Friday night, in a multiplex, and there were a lot of people laughing at a lot of things, and there was stuff in there where I'm kind of thinking like I'm not entirely sure if that is supposed to be funny. Like Begbie I thought was fucking tragic. Like like the shit he says to his son is quite like funny to an extent, but at the same time, it's just like, this is your fucking son, and you know that last scene between him and his son that I mentioned earlier on, you know, I think that's the making of Begbie in this film. The fact that he doesn't have a realization. It's like, oh, I'm going to stop doing all this stuff. It's like, I am who I am, you know, and you're not me, and I'm going to like basically try and murder these guys.
Yeah,
and very nearly do it.
Yeah, there's no real arc to Begbie. He's a man who's never grown up because he never got, and it's not because he never got the chance to grow up because he was in prison. It's because he's too much of a prick to grow up. You know, he'll have been that much of a prick when he was 15, and he's still that much of a prick now, and he'll always will be a prick because he's the prick who doesn't know he's a prick, whereas Mark knows that he's a dick and that he's a bit sanctimonious, and Simon knows that he's a criminal who isn't as big a fucking deal as he thinks he is, whereas Begbie just isn't aware of the world around him. He's aware of his world, and that's it.
That's a good way of putting it. I'm fucking... Dude, like, I haven't heard you as straight up passionate about a film in a long time. You know, I mean, you're always passionate about films generally, but, like, the way you're getting your teeth into this, man, I love how much of an effect it's had on you.
It spun me. And like you say, that closing scene with the flickering of the wallpaper, I was... Because you'd mentioned it and said it's got a fucking great end scene, and I love a great end scene. You know, it's one of the movie things that many movie things that me and yourself share is that fucking great end shot and end scenes. And I was thinking, right, what's it going to be? I was thinking, what's it going to be? Is it going to be Spud doing something? Is it going to be what's it going to be? And then it was that, and it was like, that's brilliant. It's just so, it makes such sense, not just with this movie, but with the other movie as well. And that is the thing, is this movie stands alone as its own movie, but it also makes perfect sense with Trainspotting. It's the weird thing of you could watch it without ever seeing Trainspotting and still get what's going on and still get enough out of it. But if you've seen Trainspotting 20 years ago, you'll go, I remember that. But if you've seen Trainspotting 2 fucking days ago, you're getting more and more out of it. It's a thoroughly, definitely not shit from me, and I'll be very, very pleased if there's 10 fucking better movies than this year.
Yeah, this is going to be on your top 10, man. I'd
be amazed if it's not. But yeah, I also think that it's going to get better with more watches.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. I'm more like I would happily watch it again tonight. It's definitely one of those.
I could quite easily have last night. In fact, had we not needed to get home to have dinner with Isabel last night, she went to see it at like 5:30. I probably would have just gone straight back in.
It was like me with Triple X last week.
Yeah. Yes. So 18 votes. Definitely not shit. 89%.
Okay.
Touching cloth. 11%.
Good stuff.
Which means that nobody thought it was shit, and I'm very heartened by that. I'm glad the fact that people have been getting on with this.
For sure. How long do you have?
I have about 10 minutes.
Oh, fuck me. All right.
I'll be honest, I have virtually nothing of fucking notes in what I've been watching.
Well, I'd say, I mean, we'll talk about War on Everyone next week then, maybe. Even though, then again, we got 6 films to cover next week.
Oh, fuck, we do, don't we? Let's talk a little bit more of Everyone now, then, because I've not that much to say on it, but
okay. I thought it was funny. I thought it was messy. I don't really remember any of it now. I was annoyed by the habit of people starting talking about random things. Like Alexander Skarsgård has a weird thing of just talking about like random facts about things in the film, and I was a little bit, I don't really care. I thought his relationship with the girl as well, whatever. I thought him and Michael Pena were fun together. Caleb Landry Jones was, very brave. Good on him.
Yeah.
Fun performance. I can see why people were a bit about it, to be honest.
I can absolutely see why people were mad about it, but I had an absolute blast for it. I love the fact that Alexander Skarsgård decided to use the voice, the same voice that Johnny Depp uses in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
It's a good shout. Yeah, that's true.
And I love that. And the two fucking funniest moments in the movie are him chasing the midget, saying, "Come back here, you little bastard." It's magnificent. And the what is it? I don't know, we didn't think this through, did we? We've come wise to them. What we're going to do is just stand around and fucking wait for him to walk by. We haven't thought this through. Oh, wait a minute, there he is. Just the ridiculousness of that. I thought I'd come and hide out. All right, in Iceland, yeah. But, it's not a lot of places for a black guy to hide out in Iceland. It is John Michael McDonagh doing John Michael McDonagh in the sense that he's just been offensive to everybody. There's so many, you can't say that, moments in this movie about every type of nationality. I had a blast with it. It's such a lot of fun. And Caleb Landry Jones is just, it's just such a weird performance, but in a fantastic way. This movie was should have been made 30 years ago.
Yeah, that's okay. That's a good way of putting it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I knew you would.
I would. If there was anybody out there that was going to enjoy that movie, it was me.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Okay, go on then. What else have you got on that you want to chat about, or do you want to save it for next week?
We'll talk about Hacksaw Ridge at a later date when you get around to it. The Final Girls, which is on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a fun 90 minutes actually.
Yeah.
It's got some good visual trickery going on. It's quite funny. Little bit, look how clever I am at points, but I enjoyed it. And Sadako versus Kayako, which is the Ring Girl versus the Grudge Girl, which is on Shudder, the new VOD service. And it was at Fright Fest as well, I think. I heard it was fun and silly, and it was all right. Takes a long time to tie the two threads together, and then when they are tied together, it's maybe for about 10 minutes.
Oh.
But yeah, it's not Freddy versus Jason, I'll say that. It's basically a Ring film and a Grudge film, but more Ring film than Grudge film, and then they have a fight at the end.
Oh.
Good ending though. The last 30 seconds or so, it's kind of, you see it coming, but it's quite fun, and I'd maybe watch another one if they continued in that direction, I would say. It's weird that Rings is out this week.
Yeah.
I have seen no advertising for that film.
No, I've not. It is strange the fact that it just does seem to have disappeared a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, there you go. I'm done.
Cool. Right, we have one question. Steve Dixon at the Great SD on the Danny Boyle theme. What are your top 5 Danny Boyle movies?
Oh, fuck me sideways. All right. Sunshine. Steve Jobs. This is top to 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Sunshine. Steve Jobs. Train Spotting. 28 Days Later. Then Train Spotting. And then Shallow Grave.
Cool. Mine would go. I'm going to do it when I say it. 1, T2.
Fair enough.
Train Spotting. Then Train Spotting. Then Steve Jobs. Then 28 Days Later. Then Shallow Grave.
You need to rewatch Sunshine.
No, shit, I've got Sunshine. I genuinely forgot Sunshine. Sunshine would actually, would probably push in above 28 Days Later. But I do need to rewatch Sunshine as well, actually, you're right. I do need to rewatch it. Because it's been a long time since I've watched it, and I always remember really, really enjoying it. So I do need to rewatch it.
Nice.
Cool. So, Ian, what have we got in store next week for people?
Oh, I've started my homework today.
Have you?
Yeah. We're doing Resident Evil, which I don't think Noel's joining us for anymore, the bastard.
He can't.
But we're going to do all 6 Resident Evil films, because we kind of said we were going to do it 3 or 4 months ago, so I suppose we'd better go through with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, climaxing with Resident Evil, the final chapter, which I've got to say I'm quite looking forward to.
Yeah, well, I'm starting watching them on... I'm planning on doing the bulk of them on Saturday. Just going to watch all of them in like a marathon.
Fucking hell, Mark, really?
I might even do all of them.
I've got 20 minutes of the first one, and then I think I'll probably watch the second one tonight. And then I think I'm going to do 3 and 4 tomorrow, so that's Wednesday, 5 on Thursday, then I'll probably go see final chapter Friday night.
You see, the thing is, I won't watch one tonight. I'm at work till 8 o'clock on tomorrow night. So I might be able to sneak in the first after that. I've got plans Thursday, plans Friday, and then obviously we're recording on Sunday, so I might watch more on Saturday. Fuck it.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, we're gonna have to record Sunday because
I'm recording Sunday.
Yeah, we're going away for a few days next week,
I'm actually kind of looking forward. The last time I watched the Resident Evil movies, actually, I watched them in a marathon.
Okay, fair enough.
So I'm happy to do it again.
I will say, 20 minutes away from the end of the first one, I quite like the first one. It's fine. It's a decent action horror.
We will get into them because
we'll talk about it.
Yes. So that was episode 194, people. We hope you enjoyed a little trip down memory lane, a little trip down the tracks of memory lane with Trainspotting and the review of Trainspotting 2 and Shallow Grave. DudeAndTheMonkey.com, DudeAndTheMonkey at gmail.com, at DudeAndTheMonkey on Twitter, at Ian Laurie on Twitter, at DudeFoz on Twitter. Anything else I've missed there, Ian?
No, fuck yeah, good show. Glad you like that film so much, man.
Thank you very much. We shall speak to you next week. Thank you very much for listening, people.
Boom.